Hey guys, welcome to another video from Historic Militaria. Today we're going to be looking at a Mauser flatside, and these are called flatsides for the obvious reason of no milling whatsoever on the lower here. So these were initially made during a 5,000 gun contract that Mauser got for the Italian Navy in 1899. And so they made what would have been between guns 15 and 20,000 in their own serial number range of 1 to 5,000. And then they just skipped 15 to 20,000. And then as soon as they went back to commercial production after those initial 5,000 guns, they kept making the commercial guns with this slab side until about serial number 29,000, and then after that they went back to what everyone kind of knows with the panel milling and whatnot. So let's just dive in, take a look at these guns. This is actually a very early variant of one of these. They did make a few different variations depending on the parts that were available, and this one uses a lot of early Conehammer parts on it, so it's sort of a cleanup gun of what Mauser had laying around. You'll notice the barrel and the sight are normal, nothing unusual there. You've got your Strad trigger here. The interesting thing is they are still using the Conehammer trigger mechanism inside, even though it is one of the newer type triggers. So when you pull this, you hear that snap that is typical of a Conehammer or very early large ring hammer gun, and they were still using that on these, whereas the later slab sides did not have that. They had the standard later type trigger that you would actually pull, and it would just go all the way back without any kind of snapping. You've got your Conehammer type grips, which are the widely serrated but very finely made and finished. You've got really nice wood to metal fit there too. And as always on these guns, you have a really high polish on them with a gorgeous rust blue applied. You've got your fire blued small parts with your large ring hammer. And flip this guy over, and you've got again your fire blued small parts, your long extractor with your standard chamber marking. But this one is interesting in that it actually is using a Conehammer type rear tangent sight marked 1 to 10 for up to 1,000 meters. And these were standard tangent sights that were really only used on Conehammers. So obviously Mauser had some of these laying around still and decided to slap them on these guns and send them out the door to use up parts. Mauser was great at using pretty much any part they could put on a gun. They kept them around and they used them. So you'll sometimes see parts on broom handles that should have been used up a long time ago being used on newer guns. And this is an example of that. And take a look at the other side of this one. Again, your high polished blue, just really nice. You still got your Conehammer type safety where up is fire and down is safe. Pretty hard to tell just by looking at it if the gun is safe or fire. It does move the hammer back a little bit when it's on safe, but other than that, it doesn't do much. Take a look at the underside here. Again, just a really nice metal fit that you've got on your magazine here. And then everything else is pretty typical. This one's going to be cut for a shoulder stock, and your serial number is going to be typically repeated multiple times. And your bolt is also going to be serial numbered, but it's actually going to be when you cock the hammer, it's going to be right there above the firing pin, and that's a holdover again from Conehammer days. Pretty soon they moved the bolt serial number up to the top here so you could read it without having to cock the gun. But just thought you might want to take a look at one of these early slab side guns. These were not terribly popular. Obviously, Mauser didn't make them for very long, and these early guns were just using up sort of parts that were laying around the factory. This one obviously is pretty nice. Really never saw much, if any, use. It's a pretty good looking gun. You don't see them in this kind of condition when you do see them. Hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this gun, and as always, like and subscribe. If you've got one, if you know anything more about them that wasn't included, I'd love to hear about it. So as always, like, subscribe, comment, share the knowledge. Don't keep your guns locked in the safe. Let everyone know what stuff you know. Thanks for watching.